Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I'm your host, Dr. James JC Cooley, and we got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. We're going to talk about things that I tell you sometimes that affect all of us in a variety of different ways, and it's all
Mhm.
about how we react toward things because of our perspective. And depending on what that is, I believe this we sometimes react differently, or we think what we want to based on what was taught of us, based on our environment, based on your trust level, based on everything, your faith. All of these things, I believe, have a whole lot to do with keeping it in perspective in the way that we think it should be. Because sometimes we wander out way out of line, and we're just wrong. Sometimes others are wrong, and but we all have to talk and communicate in order to make sure that we are able to communicate. But I cannot start this show without bringing on my extremely wonderful executive producer and co-host, Dr. Michelle Denise Cooley. How are you doing today, Doc?
I'm doing good, James. I'm doing good. Yeah, keeping it all in perspective. Perspective is it's a powerful word because it can be based on your reality. you know, me and you can listen to the same thing. Remember in school, and they had this experiment where they tell someone in the beginning something and they're supposed to repeat it all the way down. And then what happens at the end, the story is completely different from how it started in the beginning because people added their perspective or their edits to what they believe the story was saying. So, it's based on people's reality. And it's a dynamic word, it's a powerful word, honestly.
I'm telling you, I think you talked about, and there's been several experiments been ran. You can tell someone something,
Mhm.
and then they tell the next person, and then they tell the next person. By the time they get back to the person that put the word out, it's completely different, and that's how life is as well. But it is based on our own realities, and I want to talk about all of those things today. And I want to get our audience input. I mean, wherever you're watching this at, whether you're watching on E360 television, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or over 25 other live and streaming networks, your comments are welcome and become part of this. Become part of this conversation. And so, hey, Michelle, why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers the title of the show, purpose of the show, and introduce these two great guests that we have.
Oh, well, yeah. So the title is Keeping It All in Perspective. And we're going to talk about how we keep perspective in our lives and just in lives general, and why it's important to see other people's perspective on things, and why it's important in decision making, the word perspective. So, as I was saying, that perspective is a powerful word, is how you view things. And it could be based on your environment, how you were raised, the people that surround you. Um, Basically, it's based on your reality. So my reality may not be your reality, but one of the most important things is deciding, okay, you need to take that step back. So one of the things I want to talk about, what provides perspective in people's lives. So for me, and the two guests today we have is, what's your name?
My name is Dr. James JC Cooley. And,
And
and,
I'm
and what's your name?
and Dr. Michelle Coley. What provides perspective in my life? I think for me, it really is based on what I know, what I hear, and my beliefs. So, not to say that what I know, what I hear, my beliefs are accurate, but that really, it really, it's a huge consideration when I'm thinking about things or when something's been brought to my attention, my perspective. And we can, like I said, we can hear the same exact story, me and you. Someone can tell us the same exact story. We understand the story, but our perspective on what the story really is saying can be totally different. So, James, what provides perspective in your life?
What provides perspective in my life is just you hit it on the nail. When first of all, your thought process, your mindset, um, all of those things is what you are used to and what you consider right and wrong. I mean, so what I might consider right and wrong, it might be different than you. What I think is going overboard might be different than you, but I think it comes from your upbringing, the environment that you're in, your beliefs, and what you consider important. And not just that, but reality. You mentioned reality. That's the main thing because, you know, it's a lot of people living in a lot of different realities, especially in today's time. But my perspective is based on my beliefs in God, my beliefs in um, others, my trust, my values, my surroundings, and the people that I allow in my orbit. And I say everybody got their own orbit, and everybody does not belong in your orbit. Everybody's not your friend, and even though you always tell me, Michelle, you always say, hey, you always tell you call him your friend. That's not your friend. You just met that guy 5 minutes ago. But to me, they're my friend until they show me that they're not my friend. So my perspective comes from uh, all of these different things, and I'll talk to you about something else in a minute.
But it's interesting. My perspective on what you say when you call everybody your friend, that's not my perspective. It's interesting because friend to me is a very personal word. So I don't use friend like that. I said, I know this person, or if I'm introducing you, oh, this is, Joe Smith or whatever. I don't say good friend of mine because you're not my friend. I don't know you I don't know. I haven't gotten to the level to know you and to develop that trust to call you my friend. But that's my perspective on using the word friend, but you have a different perspective on using the word friend. So audience, that's exactly what we're trying to say. But James, you said something interesting, a person's thought process. Can you kind of break down, hey, what is exactly someone's thought process or mindset?
Well, your mindset is again what you believe, what you take in. This is my opinion, by the way. What you take in to be right and what's wrong, or you take in what's good and what's bad, and you formulate because the brain is a organ function,
Mhm.
but the mind is more mind, body, and soul, spiritual, emotional, and all of these things combined. So your mindset is, to me, is what you believe is your reality. I mean, your reality, not anybody else's reality. And sometimes, based on where you getting these beliefs and these thoughts from, the people that are, we call them in your circle, or however you get like to do that. You already know that I always give a lecture on circles, and everybody's not in your center circle. But mindset is, in my opinion, is where that middle part of what you believe in, whether it's whatever that might be. Your mindset could be completely different than mine.
But what's your thought process mean?
Thought process means that, to me, it means thinking things through for a second or so. I always say take that additional split second to think about everything that you're going to do. If somebody says something negative towards you, before you even respond, You have to think it out. I mean, maybe a split second. I mean, just because the sender send this, you're the receiver. You have to digest that, I believe, before you go back out with a response. So your thought process allows you, and a lot of people have a very short thought process. They react instantly, and if something come their way, they react. Uh, I mean, and that means there is no thought. And I believe, Dr. Cooley, that when we react and don't think things out, do not put it through the process, I think we make a bad decision 99% of the time.
So, do you believe someone's past influences their perspective? And I'm going to start on that. Yeah, I do believe your past history does influence your perspective. Perfect example is, well, it's not an example, but past meaning what you were taught, what you went through, the good times and the bad times. And for example, people say that, New Yorkers are rude and just always rushing everything like that. But that's your perspective. We don't consider ourselves rude. We consider, I mean, this is where we were born and raised in our environment, but that's not rude to us. But the outsider's perspective, their reality is, well, we don't um, we don't communicate that way. So, we're more open, nice, how you doing, instead of the typical city person just going, getting ready, look like they're ready to fight or something like that. That's a stigma. So my perspective is that, that's just a stigma. But, I can respect it, because my past is where I was born and raised, which is New York City. Your past, where you were born and raised, is in the South. So do you believe your perspective is influenced by your past and where you were raised?
Absolutely. I believe anyone's perspective is influenced by um, where they was raised, where they was born, where they grew up. I mean, the environment that they was in. Case in point, you mentioned me being raised in the South, and then actually moved even further south to Graham, Alabama, and a lot of things that I value today was taught during that time period, that 5 6 years when I was in Graham, Alabama, and then migrated back to Chattanooga, Tennessee. Uh, and a couple of things I will bring up is, and I wrote this in my previous book, Country Boy, City Boy Journey, is in Chattanooga, Tennessee, it was game project, this and that. And that's the environment I was in. I was taken out this environment and moved into Graham, Alabama, which is like 2 hours south. And it was kind of like primitive, no running water, no electricity, none of that stuff in the house. And you have to, fetch your food. That's what we used to call it. Go get 15 buckets of water for the day. Go out and grab that chicken because we're going to eat some chicken. Go out and do these things. So what I perspective, meaning that it taught, at least it taught me values of how, to survive in the things that I had to do or from a young man. And all of these things stick with me today, especially, I don't take anything for granted anymore prior to all of these things. And I believe that it helps shape my thought process because it's easy to see somebody reversing back to those type of times and not getting the work ethics and the building foundation that's going to push you forward to be a future leader of tomorrow.
Oh, I think it's time for a break, isn't it?
Yeah, we got to take a station break, but this is great. And I tell you what, our viewers now listening, wherever you're watching this at, if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments and ask any question that you like, and myself or Dr. Cooley will get you an answer. And I promise that you can be part of this because we want to know your perspective as well. It's your life. I'm Dr. James JC Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I'm here recording, and also with my absolutely fantastic co-host, Dr. Michelle Cooley, and we're talking about perspective, keeping it all in perspective in everything that you do. And I tell you, we got room for others to come in and be part of the show. All you have to do is just go to wherever platform you're watching, say, ask any question you like, join in on the conversation.
Yes, most definitely. So let's get back to this topic at hand. Does your perspective mean your way is the best way? And shouldn't you see the perspective of others? So I'm going to start with that. Your perspective doesn't mean that's the best way or the only way. I think you have to be open-minded. And that's one of the words you always use, James, is be open-minded. That, okay, your way sounds great. We're not we're not disagreeing, but hey, have you ever considered this? It's like being in business, your boss asks for ideas, and a couple of the employees, they present the best their ideas, and out of the 5, 3 are taken seriously and say, okay, these ideas will get us to where we exactly want to go, what we want to do. But what is the most efficient, time-saving, cost-saving idea that will accomplish that? So being open-minded to other people's perspective and their thoughts is really important. And I think a person, and myself included, has to not take disagreeing with your perspective on a personal level. It's like, you come up with this great idea and it's still a great idea, but the other person is giving you another idea to consider. So instead of knocking down their perspective on how they see to accomplish certain things, be open to it. So what are your thoughts on seeing the perspective of others? And also I want to add is that even though you may not agree with the person's perspective, respect and consideration and listening to the idea, and maybe accepting that they may not see it your way is always important. What are your thoughts on that, James?
First of all, I want to go back to the beginning of that, and you mentioned is one person's perspective. Do they believe that it's the best way, the most effective way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I always go back to the saying that no man or no woman is an owl. You know, you're not an owl, meaning that in order to survive in anything, whether it's life, whether it's business, whether it's etc., that requires, I believe, the opinions of others. Not to say opinions. I didn't say that you take that for face value, because if you don't get the opinions of others, you are going to start thinking that your answer is the only way, and that's the only way it is. And so I believe that to make an intelligent decision in most of the things that we do, it requires input. It requires to be able to bounce things off others. It requires us to be open-minded, think out the box, and invite fresh, new, and mental ideas to solve whatever issues or concern might not even be a problem, but to come up with the best possible solution to better fit whatever that is. So I think that that is so important, and I also believe that if we get in the mindset where we are always right, or at least where we think that we are always right, we are a legend in our own mind. Yeah, a legend in our own mind. If this is it, this is I'm great, this is genius. Because when you're in the board meeting or when you're in pretty much on the enemy, you don't always want to be the smartest person in the room. I mean, I mean, you might be, but you don't always want to be. You want to think that other people have things to contribute to whatever your goals and objectives are. And we have to keep all of those things in perspective, that there are potential other ways and other things that we could do in order to solve or reach our goal. So I think all of these things are so important. And I think just being able to talk and chat with others and get their opinions is so vital to whatever you're trying to do.
Why do you think it's important? You know, your perspective can change on a particular situation or topic or a decision, but it's always best to ask questions and not go with the status quo. So some people may not want to ask questions because they just want to get it over with, get the decision over with. It really depends on the decision. Some things can be small. It's like, okay, does this fit my criteria? 1, 2, and 3, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fine, go. But you should always ask questions about something, especially when it involves an important decision. Asking questions, you may need to take that time to think of the questions you want to ask. Maybe you might not have all the answers that you need to make that decision. So your perspective can change on the particular topic at hand. But I do think it's important to ask questions. I'm going to give you an example. Like, we're trying to figure out a way to go back to California next month and also go to Las Vegas, right? So my perspective was like, oh, let's just get a flight, go straight to Vegas and, come back. Flights are high these days. Now, James's perspective was, wow, why don't we have a home in California? Why don't we just fly there and drive to Vegas? I don't like driving, but James does the bulk of the driving anyway. I think I drive like 20 minutes of that 4-hour trip. But then also ask questions, meaning look at other alternatives. Keep checking the fares. Maybe you can fly to Vegas cheaper and then come from Vegas back to California. So it's just simple things. It's just things that you need to consider. So how important it is for you, James, to ask questions in order to make sure your perspective on the topic at hand is clear in your mind.
Okay, let's go back to the perspective California, because we do live in California. We live here. I was thinking that I go to California once or twice a month anyway. My perspective was, well, why don't we go to California? We can check on the house and we can drive from there. That's knocking out two different things at one time. Because I'm gonna have to do it anyway. So that's what I was looking at. But then if you don't know that that's what my perspective is, that's what I'm thinking. We sometimes look for easier solutions and situations where you know I'm gonna have to do that anyway. Why not do it during that time frame? If we can stay in California a couple of weeks, drive to Vegas, or however we want to do that. But it's if you're not asking questions and I'm not providing answers, we are both on two separate sheets of music, but trying to accomplish the same goal. And so that's why it's important to talk, ask questions, and not just in this situation that we're talking about, but I'm talking about in life. I believe that in anything that we do, especially in a marriage, communications, uh, even disagreeing and having different perspectives, it's okay as long as a person talk about those things or whatever the issues or situation is and work them out or come to a common solution. So what you asking is asking questions, is that important? I think it's extremely important. And I think it's extremely important that both sides, and you talking about to prioritize certain things in business. We always have to have a list, and you have all of these different charters of different things that you're working on at the same time, but you can't do them all at the same time. So you have to prioritize them. One, do so you got 15 things. You want to break it down to the top 10 and then break those down based on conversation and communications and different perspectives on what is best, and then identify the five things that you need to work on and prioritize them in that order. So all of these are important in life, and I think life is the same way in anything that we do.
Oh, most definitely. And decision making is the most important thing. Make sure your perspective is right. Um, I was watching this show, and it was a crime show, and the chief of police was mentions this man. I think you've lost your perspective. And losing your perspective can come in so many different ways, and the reasons why. You can lose your perspective if you base your decisions on you, especially when there's other people involved. You can lose your perspective, like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do this, but this decision involves other people. Now, if this decision only involves you, fine, that's great. But if the decision involves multiple parties, you have to make sure your perspective is in line with the needs of others involved in this decision. So I think that's definitely important. What do you think, James?
Well, you know that I always talk about this thing called the I, the me, and the mine,
Mhm.
and a lot of us get caught up on it. I, me, mine. That's mine. That's mine. I want. That's mine. I mean, if you're caught up on the I and the me and the mine, you're not going to allow anybody else's perspective to even come into play, because I believe it's all about. If you feel that way, it's all about what satisfies you and whatever. It doesn't matter what anybody else. And that's not good, because I believe in order for us to be successful at anything, it's going to require a lot of different perspective, and it's going to come down to uh, how can we, the us, the we, the us, and the ours, ours, and so that's what I believe. Organization leadership is all about that. Life is all about that. Family, especially family. Family comes in several different forms, but it cannot all be about a person's sole desire, because then there is no team. There is no team in that. We're going to take a station break. Very good topic that we're talking about here. But we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up. And I tell you, want to be part of the conversation, go to the comments and just ask any question you like. We'll get you on. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James JC Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Hey, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you. Yeah, yeah.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, praises and stages. These experiences teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to It's Your Life with James Cooley. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the JC Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get you equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
It's your life.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. And excuse me, we're having such a great time talking about perspective, because a lot of us get caught up in the little things as it relate to perspective and keeping it in perspective, and we get selfish, and it's all about what we can get out of this and not others. And some of us do not like to share our thoughts and ideas with others, because we sometimes think that, oh, that idea is mine, and it's just it ain't right, and they're gonna profit from it, and I'm not. I believe that the world is big enough for everybody to, if that's what your goal is, to succeed or do whatever you might want to. I mean, I believe that we just have to share our ideas, our thoughts, and just embrace everyone's success or whatever that might be. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Michelle.
Thank you, James. So Everyone has experienced disappointments in life, hurts, even betrayals, and that can influence your perspective on a lot of things on a lot of levels. Um, I'm going to give you a perfect example of what happened to me. Gosh, when I finished college, I worked at this company, right? And me and the other assistants, we got along great. Now there was this new hire, probably like a year or so after, and for some reason, this person, she just decided she didn't like me, and that's fine. You're not going to like everybody, but this person decided she wanted to do everything she could to get me, terminated from my position. Long story short, I confronted her. But what I learned, what my perspective is that what I learned based on, and it really wasn't a hurt because she wasn't my friend. It was more like, wow, someone really took the time out to really try to hurt me, on a professional level. So my perspective changed in terms of business in the sense that, you know, there are people out there, unfortunately, who may be jealous or maybe be competitive or for whatever reason that everyone does not mean you well. You wish everyone means you well, but you bump into people that do things to you, or in a way that it's like, wow, I can't believe someone actually took the time out to do something like that. So my perspective changed on, quote unquote, the working world, and the things people may or may not do to you. And James, I know you have an amazing story, and of course we won't use person's full name or anything like that, about how maybe past hurts or betrayals or trust issues affected your perspective in a way.
Well, I got several, you know, but we're not going to go there like that. And the only thing I'm trying to say is, do you allow somebody else's perspective to interfere with your decision making just because they don't like it, or they feel that they don't want to be competitive? I mean, that have happened to me several times, and it still happens, But I look at it like this: is as long as a person is honest and true to who they are and live by God decisions and His purpose, and sometimes we are going to make mistakes, but we cannot let the influence of others determine or deter our decisions on moving forward in life, because we cannot sit back and wait on everybody else to try to catch up and be on the same track as you are. But we also have to be very respectful to others, and always have others in mind, not just ourselves. And I believe that, through trials and tribulations, through disappointments, and through other things, um, all of those things determine a person. Michelle, you and I talked about this earlier. Mindset, focus. Focus is key, because if we cannot stay focused, we won't ever be able to get anything done. But we have to keep everything in perspective due to, case in point, today's time, technology, everything is changing. And we have to be flexible, I believe, to change and at least invite different ideals in, so that we can adjust to time as time changes and make the right decisions. So my point and my point, Michelle, is this: is other people gonna think what they want to think about you. But just like I always talk about this thing, and I don't know if you remember last time you heard me talk about this on stage, is the OSD: oppress, suppress, depress. You remember that? you know, oppress, for the viewers out there that have not heard me talk about them. Oppress is all of the things, and keep this in perspective, all of the outside influences that's coming towards you, and the body is just flesh, right? And if we don't protect the flesh, if we don't protect it with a suit of armor, all of these outside influences, all of these things that could cause us to go left or right, we have to have the right mindset to kind of force all of these things out, keep them at minimum. But regardless of what you do, some of these things are going to get into your mind and your mindset. And a lot of times, so oppresses, everything's coming from the outside. Some of them going to get through, but sometimes things get through. We said, okay, I don't even want to think. So we suppress it. So we suppress that. Anything that's suppressed is going to rise. Again, some point in time, it's going to rise. And once it rises, we try to hide it again and we become depressed. So oppress, outside forces. Suppress is some that get in and we mentally hide it. Depressed, when it comes back up, we try to hide. Perspective is always being able to look at things differently and say, okay, I need to chat with somebody about these things, or it's just, how do I deal with these things? What are other people's perspective? If you're not talking, communicating, you will never know. Then you have to fight all these things by yourself. And that's why I tell you, my great wife, Dr. Michelle Cooley, I mean, we all have certain things, but I can always go to her and she's going to tell me the truth. I mean she's going to say it. It might not be something that are pretty or something that I like, but I'm always going to get her perspective on it, and I'm always going to allow her perspective to be heard. That does not necessarily mean that based on what she said, I'm going to make a decision, because she talked about decision making. I kind of think she kind of pushed that to the side earlier. Everyone has to make their own decision about everything that they do. And let other people make a decision for you. I mean, if you are the one that got to make that decision, what are your thoughts on that, Michelle? I'm throwing that one back at you.
No, I agree. If the decision only involves you, whatever, hopefully careful thought, you make the right decision for yourself. But if it involves other people, you got to think, okay, how are other people going to be affected with this decision, and look at the needs of other people that's involved in that. When you do make that decision, it's like, okay, I'm just throwing something hypothetically out there. Let's say, let's say I come back from a long business trip, right? And I'm exhausted. I've been away for a week and I'm coming back to Dallas. But the same day you invite company over for dinner, it's like you did not even think about how tired I would be. Do I want to entertain company? But that's hypothetical. That's not something, James, you've done. But I'm talking about.
Hold on. You know good and well I have done that.
No, you haven't. No, I've never. I mean, first of all, I haven't traveled in years because of the pandemic, right? But I'm saying that, I just threw a hypothetical, like if I'm, let's say, because you're going overseas soon, right? And let's say the day you come back from this long 20-something hour plane ride, I decided to invite people over for dinner. It's like, my gosh, was she not even considering me? Where was her perspective? And when she thought about this decision, was it about, oh, Michelle wants company, or James is tired? I'm just saying something like that. But I think we're getting ready for a break. Then we got to bring some good subsets to talk about.
No, but it just go back. It have been that you was on travel to New York and I had company over, etc. So but
no,
it was
I'm
not
talking company over for dinner. This, and not company like you're hanging out, but company over for dinner, like you inviting a couple over for dinner. It's like, I'm tired, but whatever.
You know what? We're gonna take a station break, and we're gonna come back, and we want to hear your perspective on what you think about certain things. And everything is fun. if you keep it in perspective and if you keep an open mind. That's what having an open mind is all about, is being able to agree, disagree, but invite people into the table that you can discuss and disagree or agree on. We'll be back shortly after the break. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James JC Cooley. Let's see.
Fight again. And if you want my opinion, I'll let it take me away. Only relief is the four on the floor and the crowd that goes, oh, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, oh, turn it up, turn it up.
Hello. Hey, I'm James Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the JC Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, / Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show, and Michelle and I are talking about perspectives, and you know, that's what it's all about. It's everybody's point of view. It's also had to relate to what you were doing, you know. So just like I said, my thoughts, my process, my point of view might not be the same as hers. But I had to keep everything that I believe in the right perspective, according to, you know, I won't say me, but just according to my upbringing, according to what was taught, and according to my mindset. Mindset is a key word on it. According to my mindset, and I'm not easily influenced by anything. What are your thoughts on that, Michelle?
I'm glad you used the word influence, because that's the question I want to ask now is, who is influencing you? Who are you? Who is in your core? That's how you call it, your center circle. Who do you surround yourself with? Your perspective actually can be influenced by the people you surround yourself with, and your decision making as well. Now, there's nothing wrong getting someone else's opinion, close friend, confidant. I find nothing wrong with that. However, you have to keep certain things in perspective. I'll just give you like another one of my hypotheticals. Let's say a couple is having issues in their marriage, right? Or raising their child. why would you go? And why would you go to a friend who has never been married? They're not qualified to give you advice on marriage because they have never been married. So that can kind of influence your perspective. So you kind of have to be careful who you surround yourself with, who you go to for advice and decision making. But ultimately, the decision is yours. So it's all about who are you keeping company with? Are they bringing something to the table or taking something away from the table? I've got amazing friends. I got a great family. I got a great husband. I got a great network of people who are for me. But everybody, and I told my friends or family, but then there's other people outside, outliers, who may not be for you. And there may be what we call acquaintances or people you just know. You got to make sure that whatever decisions you're making and how your perspective is, you got to make sure it's not being influenced by the wrong people, or they may be great people, but they're not qualified to give you advice or decisions. What do you think, Dr. Cooley?
Well, first of all, you kind of got my circle scenario that I talk about. You didn't even identify it the right way. Let me tell you about what she meant by circle. I give a lecture called Circles. And let me tell you about circles. First of all, when you surround yourself with like-minded people, not exactly like yours, but people that you can trust. And that dot in the circle is you. You are that single dot in that circle. And what Michelle was talking about is your center circle is the people that you trust the most. I mean, and you have to trust them, and you have to know them. You have to believe in them. These are the people, and I tell you, I don't believe that a person should have more than 3 people in their center circle, because if you have an even number, you get betrayed. Somebody gonna betray you, and you're not gonna know who it is. If it's you have two out of 3 to pick, you're gonna figure out who is the one betraying you. So your center circle is where you go to, you get their perspective, they get your perspective. This is the people that you trust with your life. You trust them to represent you when you're not there. I mean, they can represent you when you're not there, because you trust them, they trust you. If you have too many people in your circle that you're going to telling all your business and doing all this, my grandma always told me, Michelle, she always said, boy, if you tell all your business, you got no business. If you tell everybody everything, and it's gonna come back to haunt you later on because you done told them. Your center circle, they know everything about you pretty much. They know the good, the bad, the evil, whatever. They know what make you click, and they are able to represent you because they care for you and you care for them. So be careful about bringing in lots and lots of people in your center circle and taking all these different perspectives, because that's what influences you to make decisions. Now, just like Michelle said, each and every individual should make decision based on them in their own. They gather all the information in. You can't make a decision based on what somebody else is telling you, because you got to deal with the consequences. But I'm not saying, Michelle, don't gather this information from these people, but just don't gather too much. Don't gather too much from all different angles, because everybody's not part of your center circle, and there's going to be some sabotaging. There's going to be all different types of things where people are going to try to be part of that center circle, so that they will jeopardize everything. Remember, keep your friends close, but keep your enemy closer. Your enemy, you already know what they're gonna do. You know what your enemy gonna do. Your friends, you better be careful who you call friend.
But also, it's important that you say you have trusted confidants, but some of them may not be qualified to help you with the decision. Like the example I gave, if someone was having child rearing problems or marriage problems, how can your single friend who's never been married give you a good perspective on marriage?
That they can still be your friend, but they would be like that's two circles outside. So you got the dot, which is you. You got your center circle, which is 3 people. Then you got the next circle, which is your enemy. Then you got your confidants, and you got your friends' advice. They can provide information to you, but you have to be very careful about it, especially with what you're saying. If you're giving questions on marriage, or you're giving questions on raising kids, and you're not either one of them, you don't have any kids, and you don't have a husband, so you have no experience in this. Why would you want to go out and accept all out advice from somebody like that?
But there are people who do that, though. That's the funny thing.
And everybody got a perspective. You know what? We're going to put down toward the last minute of the show. Michelle, anything that you want to leave our audience with?
Yes, perspective. Sometimes your perspective comes from whether you meditate or just contemplate or take some time to think about something. Now, don't get me wrong. There are decisions that need to be made quick, right then and there. I understand. But then there are decisions that you don't have to make right then and there, and kind of think about what you're going to say before you say. It's like, this sounds interesting. Maybe you just step away and think about it. What are your thoughts?
Well, you're right. And I don't have time to talk about create and react. A lot of people, visionary, they can see things and create. Other people, anything that happens, they want to react. And both of those words got the same letters in it, but mean 2 different things. My takeaway is always think things out. Try not to react. Take that split second to just look at things. And I tell you what, thanks so much for joining the James Cooley Show today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll see you tomorrow, same time. It's your life. I'm Dr. James JC.